So we like to do conversation-starting pieces of theater, things that are relevant right now and that affect the community. We've done so many that it's crazy now. I look back on all the production history. We're looking to tell those stories that affect us or affect our community or on a larger, on a national stage as well. We present things that may be a little more offbeat, and really that you walk home and you think about it and then you engage in a conversation about it and it sticks with you. I've had people come up to me and say, hey, I'm still thinking about this production. It's still affecting me. And this is like a year later. The wonderful thing about theater is if you engage people emotionally, then their intellectual kind of guards go down a little bit. And so they're open to hearing things in a new way. And then it's because you're engaged with the characters, they'll say things and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's true, or I know that to be true.
Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Here, our purpose and passion are simple: to highlight the incredible nonprofits that make our communities stronger. Each episode is a chance for these organizations to tell their story in their words, sharing not just what they do, but why it matters to the people they serve, to their supporters, and to all of us who believe in the power of community. Through podcasting, we hope to amplify their voices, inspire connection, and give them one more tool to reach the hearts of donors, partners, and neighbors alike. This work is made possible through the generous support of our founding partners. CapTrust, offering fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations serving Sacramento, Roseville, and Folsom, and online at captrust.com. And Western Health Advantage, a local not-for-profit health plan that believes healthcare is more than coverage. It's about caring. From supporting the American Heart Association to making arts and wellness accessible for all, Western Health Advantage truly delivers healthcare with heart. Learn more at westernhealth.com. I'm proud to welcome our newest partner, CORE, Executive Leadership and Comprehensive Support Services, working in it so you can work on it. Visit cxore.com. In this episode, I sit down with Michael Stevenson, Artistic Director at Capitol Stage, to explore what makes one of Sacramento's most intimate professional theaters so compelling. With just 127 seats and no microphones, Capitol Stage puts you inside the story, prioritizing crisp, nuanced performances and bold, thought-provoking plays that spark real conversation. We'll talk about the company's origins, its risk-taking repertoire, from contemporary satire to award-winning dramas, and the realities of keeping cutting-edge theater sustainable in a post-pandemic world. Michael Stevenson, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thank you so much. So glad to be here.
What we're going to talk about has such emotion and passion and life involved in it to so many people because of the way they perceive and think about theater in all its ramifications. So I'm really looking forward to getting into some of the nuance of what we've got with regard to our performing arts theaters in the greater Sacramento region. And there really is a significant difference between each of you as we look at that, and we're going to discuss a little bit more about it. We have theaters on college campuses. We have independent theaters. We have small theaters. We have larger theaters, larger venues. But it's really that intimate community theater that allows one to get a different experience. And I think you'd probably agree with that for Capitol Stage, right?
Yeah, one of the things that marks us, we're professional theater. We have a small house. It's about 127 people, so you're never more than 4 rows away from an actor, which is extraordinary. And that changes the way you experience a play. It changes the style of acting. It changes a lot of the elements of the production. But you're literally inside the action when you sit at our theater. So that distinguishes us from other theaters, along with our content and the things we choose to focus on.
Which I can't wait to get into.
Yeah.
And I know when we've done New York and we do something off Broadway, it's those small theaters with, in many cases, big performers. And to think that's as close as you may ever get to that person ever, you know, in terms of the star value, and to literally see and feel the voice project, and the emotion or the sweat as they're doing their performance. you really get a sense that's different than when you're 42 rows back looking down from the second balcony.
Oh, yeah. And a huge difference is we're not mic'd at all. So that changes the quality of the voice and the voice that's required to be in the space and its effect on you and the timbre and the vibration, what hits you of what's actually happening just a few feet away from you changes the way you perceive the production. And that also makes it a much more intimate production because anytime you have amplification, it can be great. I mean, it really clears things up, but it removes some of the life from the voice in the space. So it doesn't travel the way your ear would expect to hear it. And so it's more like people talking to each other at Capitol Stage. So that makes it capable of really tiny, detailed acting that really you don't see often in other theaters.
Have you performed?
Yeah, I was an actor for many, many years. I was at the B Street, actually, before this. My wife and I, Jamie, founded the B Street Theater Conservatory. And I studied acting. I went to New York and all the places, San Francisco, Los Angeles.
I'm picking it up by just the articulation of the way that you're stating some things.
Oh, okay.
Which is a little bit different than most people who, converse into a microphone, which we are amplified.
Yeah.
But as you were doing it, I was like, okay, wait, that's a little bit different. He's speaking that very crisply. So it's evident. In terms of the theater itself, about 20 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
And as I just found out, I knew you'd been there for 10 as artistic director, but you've been involved with it since the beginning.
Yeah, I was a freelancer in the beginning. I wasn't a founder, but I've directed many productions there, and I was in a couple of productions there as well until 2015 when I took on the artistic directorship. So I've known the players for a long time. Stephanie Gillard, John Williams, and Peter Moorman were the founders of the theater. And they were asking the question, hey, why do I have to go to San Francisco to see avant-garde or more cutting-edge theater? Why can't we see that right here now? I bet there's demand for it. And they opened up the theater on the Delta King, which seems like a strange way to go. It's a 99-seat house, below decks. And there was a murder mystery theater next door, and there's a restaurant up top. Sometimes people would bring their meals down into the theater.
I remember.
And there was little folding school desk chairs, which really didn't really have any function for us. It was a crazy place, but the shows they did and the work they did was so compelling that they were a success even in old Sacramento, which wouldn't seem to be the natural place for it. And ultimately that led to seeking a larger theater to our home on J Street right now, which happened in 2011, 2012.
I'm sure when the thought was, we're going to show you San Francisco looked and said, you go ahead on the Delta King. Yes, you're definitely showing us.
I don't think they knew we were there. So yeah, it was really an interesting dichotomy. But I think people want to have a theatrical experience. They want to have a live experience, and they also want to be engaged and entertain, engage, and challenge with bold, thought-provoking theater was our mission. And that content, there's an appetite for it. There's desire to see issues that are affecting people today in the community, political issues, all kinds of direct relations to society and what's going on.
And I think that really is the crux, the novelty, the nuance in Capitol Stage is that you will take the chance on some of those shows that are coming through. And the fact that they're meant to make you feel and think. Tell us a little bit about that, because when I speak to anybody that's involved with the theater or attends the theater regularly, that's their response all the time. They never leave simply entertained.
Yeah, so we like to do conversation-starting pieces of theater, things that are relevant right now and that affect the community. We've done so many that it's crazy now. I look back on the production history. But shows like English or shows like The Nether or shows like Passover, which is a modern updating of basically Waiting for Godot in an urban environment. We do shows that bring unheard voices into the space as well. I had no idea, for instance, that English, which was a story about 3 Iranian people trying to study English for the test of English as a foreign language. And that was one of our biggest hits ever. And we make inroads into the Persian community and look out to be ambassadors to other communities. So we're looking to tell those stories that affect us or affect our community or on a larger national stage as well. We do a lot of satire, we do a lot of comedy, but it's a little more biting and has a point to it. For instance, Lehman Trilogy is a huge piece. It's a 3-act piece. It's like theater of old, and it's this fascinating history of these three brothers and their financial empire that they built and was lost in a day, which echoes still to us who lived through that. So we present things that may be a little more offbeat, and really that you walk home and you think about it, and then you engage in a conversation about it, and it sticks with you. I've had people come up to me and say, hey, I'm still thinking about this production. It's still affecting me. And then this is like a year later. And we just did a show called King James. It was about LeBron James. It was actually about these two young men who were fanatics about LeBron James, and it was about male friendship. And they followed him through 4 quarters of his career, like when he left Cleveland. And people are still coming up to me. People wore jerseys to the show because they were so caught up in that. And so, yeah, we're looking for shows that really engage people and things that make you want to have a discussion, maybe change your mind. We did a show called Vietgone, this incredible, great comedy directed by Jeffrey Lowe. Quy Nguyen wrote the story, and it was a story of Vietnamese aliens who came to this country during the Vietnam War to escape persecution, a group you've never heard from. And it was this incredible comedy. And at the end of it, there's this extraordinary revelation. There's been a father and son. You've been following the son as he's trying to tell the story of his parents' life in America after they left. And the father basically, the son goes, it was horrible that America was in Vietnam. And the father goes, he almost has a breakdown, and he says, well, they saved me. They saved us. They saved our village. Without them, we would all be dead. And I was like, I've never heard anyone take that kind of take on the Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. And at this point, the wonderful thing about theater is if you engage people emotionally, then their intellectual kind of guards go down a little bit. And so they're open to hearing things in a new way. And then it's because you're engaged with the characters, they'll say things and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's true, or I know that to be true. There was another show called Heroes of the Fourth Turning, where this extraordinary show about these young college graduates are coming for a reunion because their professor has been promoted ahead of the school in Colorado. It's a Christian evangelical school. And you meet these characters, they're at a reunion and they're just acting like everybody would, and then you're getting engaged with them, and then slowly you start to realize they're really on the extreme right about what they believe about things. But too late, you're already in a relationship with them, so you can't just shut that out anymore. Really an extraordinary play as well. So those are some of my favorites.
Is there one that since you've been there for the duration, that particularly stands out as, oh my gosh, that was one of the most controversial things that okay,
easy.
So it's coming right up. I can't wait.
Of them. Yeah, there's a million of them. Sure. Well, I'll start with The Nether. The Nether is this extraordinary story of the near future where people are basically experiencing their whole life in virtual reality, in the internet. And in this world, there's a place that looks like a Lewis Carroll kind of playground, an 1800s kind of Alice in Wonderland kind of, nostalgic reminder. And in this world of this particular place, everyone acts as either an adult or a child, and that basically these are virtual avatars. There's nobody real involved here. It's an avatar you're controlling, and they get involved in messed up sexual relationships with children. And so you're like, oh my God, what the hell is happening? And a cop comes in there to try and uproot the organization. The person who owns it has written code so beautifully they're having a really tough time. But it's this extraordinary story that gets you by the throat. And it's really a story about First Amendment rights. Are there consequences for things you do virtually in the real world? And it turns out there are no children involved whatsoever. There are adults operating the children as avatars. So it's the whole thing gets turned upside down. There's like 3 major reversals, and that was a very controversial piece. It was amazing. We got a lot of response from that, but people have come to expect kind of a little more challenge from us. There was another one called Passover, which is about 2 young black men trying to get out of the inner city, and it's almost parable or a fable. It has a surrealistic thing going on, and there's a lot of use of the N-word. And I was very concerned about it. And the 2 actors we had were just superior, and the play itself, is Antoinette Nwandu wrote it, is extraordinary. And it kind of cast a hypnotic kind of spell on the audience as we watched. And it's also a tragedy because one of the kids gets shot by the end by a cop. And this happened right near George Floyd. And that happens a lot where the incidents on stage, I think playwrights can read the zeitgeist a little better than we can. There's been several times when we've chosen plays that at the time, there was, for instance, a huge university admissions scandal about 3 or 4 years ago, and we were doing a play called Admissions, and it was about admission scandals.
Somewhat prescient in terms of to the environment, right?
Totally unknown to me that this would happen, but it's happened several times. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Let me ask, what is the role of the artistic director?
Yeah. So it's two major things. The first is choosing a season and working with directors and designers on that season, trying to make sure that the artistic content is up to snuff and, just helping the productions along and overseeing that stuff. Hiring actors and designers and the whole caboodle. Then the other half is fundraising and getting myself out into the community to meet people, to look for new sources of revenue, because as you know, it's like a 60-40, 65-35% split between earned income and contributed income.
And we'll get a little bit more into that funding too in just a minute.
Yeah.
So you really have a split role. You have not only the creation of what's being seen by the audience for the year, but you also have the development role, the fundraising role is part of the artistic director.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And we have a development manager, Kirk Blackington, who's terrific at his job. And we have a new managing director, and Liz Gray, and she's also got a big background in development. So I'm not alone at all.
Good.
In fact, they're giving me things to do, and I'm going and doing them. But as face of the theater, I'm trying to get as many people to come to the theater and become donors, get involved in the theater at a really grassroots level.
And especially if you have an interested party sponsor who is into the theater, with you alongside of development director or executive director, what a wealth of energy you can bring into that conversation to engage a potential sponsor or anybody that wants to make the contribution.
Yeah, and as it turns out, Kirk has been involved with the theater for many years as well. I've directed him. He's been cast in several things. So he was the founding artistic director of Big Idea Theater, which is a non-professional theater that he and his wife Shannon founded. So he has tons of connections in the community as well. So we're very fortunate that way. And Liz has tons of experience with fundraising. It's a big focus, and especially as the times have changed, it's become something we lean on more and more, especially in this artistic environment at the federal level. Things are basically disappearing.
Right.
And that's going to have a huge effect. We're not directly on that path, but it hits other organizations that are on that path that do help us out. So
let's bring the house lights up for a bit as we hear from those who make this programming possible. I'm speaking with Darrell Teat, CEO of CORE. Welcome to our family of partners.
Thank you so much, Jeff. We are really excited to be part of the family and contribute to the work that you all are doing.
What is CORE all about?
CORE provides fractional and interim executive services, along with comprehensive back-office solutions that go into our client sites and do the work to give them the capacity they need in order to move through transitions, whether that's planned or unplanned. Or companies also work with our accounting and finance, back-office solutions, human resources, technology, and administration.
Why are these services such a lifesaver for small and mid-sized organizations?
Great question, Jeff. The reason why our back office solutions add value is because we save them time and money, anywhere from 20 to 30% of what they would spend on that back office solution. We work in it so they can actually work on it.
I have to believe that there's somebody right now listening and thinking, I could use that kind of help. What's the best way to get in touch with you, Darrell?
The best way is at our website, cxore.com, and contact me directly at dteat@cxore.com.
Darrell, thank you for your investment and commitment to supporting our messaging. And if you're interested in learning more about how CORE may help your organization, visit cxore.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
At Western Health Advantage, healthcare isn't just a service. It's a shared value. As a nonprofit leader, you need a health plan that understands the importance of mission-driven work. Western Health Advantage is a local, not-for-profit health plan that supports organizations like yours with affordable, flexible coverage options for your team. But what truly sets them apart is their commitment to community, supporting nonprofits like the American Heart Association, Sacramento Ballet, and the Crocker Art Museum's Pay What You Wish Sundays. With access to top-tier providers and dedicated local support, Western Health Advantage is more than a health plan. It's a partner in your purpose. Explore your options today at westernhealth.com. Western Health Advantage, healthcare with heart, designed for those who give back. Let's pivot a little bit because that's a great point to do it. You all have this integration into the community with X number of years, 20 at least for yourself, involved with both the theater and the community. What do you look like when we talk about collaboration? Who are some of the organizations you might collaborate with that are really supportive and integrated and integral to your existence?
Yeah, there's a bunch involved at different levels. There's individual sponsors. Sometimes people will say, hey, I want to sponsor a show. We're very fortunate. We have a lot of those. There's also the government, the city. We've been fortunate enough to receive the Creative Arts Award every 3 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's from the Office of Arts and Culture, and they've supported us for many years. Really incredible. There's not a lot of cities that do directly support the arts like that. We also have partners that we choose depending on the show. For instance, we've had the Asian Bar Association as a partner, the Betty Irene School of Nursing at Davis. We were doing a show about Alzheimer's caregivers, and they partnered with us and had displays in the lobby, and we had panels and talkbacks about that. Teatro Noel, we've Richard Falcone's group. It's a Latinx theater company. Celebration Arts, really famous. James Wheatley founded this company many years ago, and we partnered with them in many instances. We also have some corporate sponsors occasionally. Those are harder to find, and so it's a mix of all those people that we interact with.
And then, as I see from the website, you also have classes and teaching that I'm sure integrates and uses the facility to greater use too. Tell us a little bit about that.
I should mention too, we're members of the National New Play Network, and we've done several what's called rolling world premieres, where a play opens in, say, Florida, and then in the space of a production year, it'll move to 2 or 3 other theaters, and the creative teams keep in touch with each other. Sometimes the author makes changes. The idea is it's easy to get a first production. It's really hard to get a second one. So getting as many out across the nation as possible is part of the focus of that. We've done several of those. I'm sorry, what was the second question? Oh, the theater, the school.
Yes.
So we have Cap Stage Academy, which offers classes for adults and professionals looking to further their training. And those take place at CLARA, which is E. Claire Raley Center for the Performing Arts, which we're very lucky to be part of. We have our offices there and our rehearsal space there, which we didn't have for many years. We would just drive around to warehouses or other theaters.
Wherever you could find a space that would be willing, right?
Yeah, which when you think about it, for rehearsal, you got to load the props in, you got to get the actors there, you got to get set up, then you got to break down at the end of the night. It was really difficult. So we're very fortunate to be there. We also offer apprenticeships where it's a transition from school to the professional life. We just have a new class of apprentices who've joined us, so we're really happy about that. And then occasionally we'll have one-off workshops. We've had casting directors come in and talk about the craft and getting work and doing that stuff. So we're offering the apprentices classes year-round. The idea is to give them a full experience of what it's like to produce a year of theater in every department, marketing and construction, and a lot of construction, obviously, and finance. And so they're fully prepared theater professionals when they leave our program.
Which is a great segue to the next question. It's the funding part of the theater.
Yeah.
And as you're addressing it, you say construction, and I quiver because I just think of cost of construction, cost of materials, cost of everything at this point. How is the theater funded? And I know a lot of people will have the misperception that, it's ticket revenue, and that takes care of everything, and that nothing could be further than the truth. I mean, it's a percentage of it.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So there have been so many factors that have affected us as a theater. AB5 has affected us.
Which, for the benefit of those who don't know, is?
It's a law addressing contractors and labor laws. Basically, it requires certain people to be classified as employees, which is important, and people get paid, which is really important. It changes the landscape of the theater world because we had a lot of volunteers before. We also, COVID has had a disastrous effect because it took out our reserves. And then the price of materials has gone crazy from that as a result. it's gone crazy. So wood and steel, they've normalized a little bit, but they're still way more expensive than they used to be. Costs of labor have gone up, and then the shutdown we had to deal with. We were out of commission for a year and a half. So we went to video. We created a radio play for the Christmas show. We did 2 other productions that we fully videoed. We didn't know anything about video to start with, so it was crazy.
As so many other people didn't either. Virtual events. What's a virtual event?
I know, my God, yeah.
My major fundraiser virtually. How does that happen?
It doesn't really do well. And Zoom came into our lives, which I can't stand Zoom, and it's the antithesis of what we do. Theater is not that. But so there was that, but there's also post-COVID, audiences have not returned to the levels that they were before. So we could depend on more earned revenue before, and we can't depend on as much. It's slowly getting up there again.
I was going to ask.
It's not there yet. We're still probably 10, 15% off the peak. So all those factors combined, along with people have left the business. It got too crazy in COVID, and people are just like, look, I just can't do this anymore. So
and by people, you mean performers?
Yeah, performers, designers, creatives of all kinds, stage managers. And then we lost a major theater in Sacramento. We lost Sacramento Theater Company, which was bad for everybody because there's an ecosystem of theater designers and professionals and technicians and actors that travel from theater to theater to theater because there were 3 professional theaters up here, ourselves, B Street, and Sacramento Theater Company. And occasionally Music Circus, they hire a little bit of local, not a lot. You could scratch it together. If you were tough and talented, you could make it happen. But that's not really the case anymore. It's just really, really tough. So there's been just momentous change over the last, the time that I've been there. Right. I've watched most of it happen.
So in the funding process, it's 60% of it may come from ticket revenue, with the additional coming from sponsorships and donors and
so sponsorships, donors, grants. The biggest slice of that is individual contributors. We are very fortunate to have some loyal patrons who have been very generous with us. It still doesn't change. The equation has changed. Basically, our earned revenue is still down, and we're trying to figure out ways of getting people back in the theater and engaged. But it's a struggle. I'll tell you, it's been a couple of years. It's a little better. Part of the problem is I think everybody subconsciously became programmed, if they went to work at all, go home, sit on the sofa, watch Netflix. And that was a year of that at least, or 2 for some people, right? And so subconsciously that becomes your habit. And I don't think that anyone's been able to address, there's got to be an event that kind of unlocks that again. But that repetition and that isolation became America. And so we are struggling still to kind of break that and get people back into the civic ritual that is theater.
Do you see, as you look at it now, you said it's maybe 10 to 15%, is the trend line still positive? Getting closer to and closer to as we eradicate some of that fear? It's a little flat.
It's been positive, but it's gone flat recently. We're having some hopeful sales for this new season coming up, our 21st season.
Which, as we speak, this is now, let's say, September of 2025.
Yes, it'll be the end of this month. We'll open the show, and we run September to August in terms of our fiscal year. And so sales have been good for Lehman, especially, which is great, and subscriptions are pretty good. It's still not where it was, and it's getting people into the theater to have the experience. You can't tell somebody about it.
Right.
It's useless. It's intellectual information. But if you get somebody into the theater, that's a different story. Then they can be transformed by that, by just seeing the right play at the right time. But that's our challenge.
And then you do have some fee for service. The classes are coursework and things like that.
Yeah, we do we charge tuition. It barely covers the cost. It's more of a community service, and us engaging in the community, I think, is more important. We do have some special events. Sometimes we'll have a band or a singer or a comedian come in to take an off night in the theater. But we do 7 shows a year, which is a crazy number of shows to do. So there's very little dark time in the theater. And we're trying to figure out more ways of getting people access to the space as a kind of reception area or conference area, which we've had a little success with. And that's a little better when I'm here.
Good. And I want to make it clear for the listener again, when you say 7 shows a year, they think, well, it's only 7 shows a year. What's the big deal? No, it's 7 shows a year over X number of nights. That could be what? How many performances?
8 weeks of show, 29 performances. And then the last week of the previous show and the first week of the next show, rehearsal overlap each other. So there's other considerations like housing actors from out of town. you can't always find the people you need in town. So sometimes often we go to Los Angeles or New York, and they've got to live somewhere while they're here. And so that's another of our struggles, is finding actor housing. We have generous patrons who have ADUs who we're able to use once in a while, but it's always a scramble. It's always, and then the math of that is, so we've got actors housed from the last play, actors coming in for the new play, and there's a week there where everybody is on top of each other.
Yeah, and to keep in mind, that's roughly 200 plus performances. Yeah. Over the course of a year. Yeah. That's a lot of nights or days consuming the theater.
Absolutely. Yeah. 220, something like that.
Yeah. Is that what your total
crazy. Is? Yeah. Let me see.
7 times 30 would be 210, and then plus.
There you go. Math is not my thing.
No, nor mine.
Yeah. Yeah. So the theater is constantly occupied, and we're building the next show while this show is running. And we're trying to keep, you get plans early. So it's just a constant hive of activity.
Yeah, I think that's the part people just don't realize, the significance of the activity that's taking place. And if you have two really disparate style shows, that staging is completely different. And I'm imagining probably everyone is like that, right?
Yes, I think other theaters do fewer shows, in some cases, but the B Street we're very similar to in terms of main stage productions. And they have their kids show, which is in addition to all that they do. But yeah, I mean, it's a labor of love.
Yes.
It's never going to be a cash cow, as it were. It's always going to be, it's about being enmeshed in the community and sharing these stories together, which is this kind of ancient ritual that we've had since sitting around the fire.
Right. I'm going to ask you a fun question now, which I think you're going to, you'll enjoy. This is one where we get away from it all and say, you've got this donor who's passionate about the arts, passionate about the theater, says, you know what, Michael, I've got this blank check. I'm aging myself out. I want to leave it as a legacy, but you got to give me a good reason to do it. If that was the case, what would the theater look like? What would you do? What would be different?
Well, if this was a truly blank check, I think the thing would be different. We would lower our ticket prices, pay our technicians, designers, and actors more, and then we would be very attuned to what's going on in the community and be able to choose shows nimbly that are really affecting things right now. And also, we'd be welcoming to everybody. We want everybody to feel included. And we would probably send productions out into the schools to bring people together.
Love that, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe more partnerships with other theaters as well. It's ironic. When you do a co-production, you think, we're going to save money. We did a triple co-production of The Heart Sellers, this wonderful Lloyd Saw play. And it pretty much just ends up being you get this wonderful feeling of accomplishment because of the creative energy that's gone to these 3 productions. But it turns out to be you've still got to build it and make it work in your space, which is almost identical. So it's interesting.
So no savings, not necessarily greater, just a wash.
Yeah, but also, and
a lot better feeling.
Great feeling. You've had something to do with the life of this play, which is really good.
Back to the reality of the situation today. What is the greatest need?
I would say we've got to find a way to increase our earned and contributed income. It's almost a different business than it was. Sometime way back in the early aughts, a lot of volunteers were on that stage and helping out, or being paid fees for tons and tons of work. And now we're paying people appropriately, and we've got to figure out the post-COVID business model and figure out what gets people back in the seats. I think that's the most important thing. Because just before COVID hit, we were on just a roll. We had 2,283 subscribers. Crazy number, right? And now we're back down to like 1,800. So we've lost a chunk of change there. And some of that is people aging out and they just don't want to take the risk of being in COVID.
Sure.
And then some of it is kids have not experienced theater. A lot of kids went through a disruption in their high school or college education. So we're trying to find ways to re-engage, and maybe there's a different model we need to look at. Maybe 7 shows a year is too many. So we're looking at all the angles.
I'm happy to see the receptivity to change.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really difficult to say, well, this is the way we've always done it. This model's worked so well, but it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And it's really time to break it and look at something different and experiment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you done any of those that gave you a glimpse of something that looks like it could be fruitful?
I'll tell you something. I would say we've experimented with flex tickets, which are tickets that don't have a date associated with them. You can just use them whenever you want in the course of the run of a show. And that's been helpful in that. Also, when we're engaging in specific communities, and For instance, English was an example of that, or Passover. You get a different audience, which that goes, okay, the more inclusive we are, the better off we'll be in terms of people actually coming to see the theater. Vietgone, I'll never forget this. There was an elderly Vietnamese woman who'd come to the show. It's just a gorgeous show and really ebullient. And she came to me and she took both my hands. She said, "Thank you for telling the story." And I was like, yeah, how long has it been? To see your story on stage is really powerful. It's a really powerful thing. And for many years, like for instance, in English, we had to find Persian actors and Iranian actors, and it was extraordinary. It was just this amazing new energy in the room. So I think there's some combination of those elements that make it work.
Are the theaters at all into yet? I'm sure it's coming, dynamic pricing?
Oh, that exists, yeah. There are ticketing systems to do that. It's a complex thing to do. It's possible to do, and we're starting to look at it, but we haven't done it yet. Like Music Circus, for instance, has dynamic pricing.
Okay.
They use a program called Tessitura, which is kind of a database, and they're able to change ticket prices on the fly. We don't have as much inventory as they do, so it's a little more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we are looking at it, but we haven't started it.
And then with regard to the individual performances, obviously there's days that have nuance to them because timing and everything maybe
Sure.
not as demanded. But when you see that stable group, the people that are your staunch subscribers, what do they look like?
They're probably late 40s up to 60s. They're probably professionals, a lot of them, high-level education, been engaged with the theater for a while, too. They really stick, and they enjoy a good conversation. So I would say it's more...
Sometimes debate.
Sometimes, yes. That's a special conversation extreme. I would say there's more women than men.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, and that's another one of our struggles, trying to diversify our audience, trying to get more people of different cultures into the theater. Well,
I'm looking at that gap, 1,800 to 2,200, high watermark to current.
Yeah.
And thinking, okay, well, 400's not that bad. We have a city that's growing. We have a downtown that's getting more and more dense in terms of housing and lifestyle.
Yeah.
And hopefully things like this will just continue to perpetuate. And it's helpful actually for me to be aware because we have so many people that pass through the studio that may have a likelihood to align.
Yeah.
And where I can reach out and say, hey, Michael, I think there's something here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
if you were to do a program in some way, shape, or form, or a play that comes through that's based on life of a foster youth, what an incredible opportunity in our community.
Absolutely.
So your day-to-day is hectic and crazy.
Sure.
And many of us seek entertainment in our relaxation.
Yeah.
So what does an artistic director do to relax? I'm assuming you probably don't go to more plays.
You know what? I hike. I go running. I love the beach. I haven't been able to get there much. I'm a pop culture junkie, so we're watching The Gilded Age right now, and it's a blast. And my time is so full, I don't really think about that question all that much.
Everybody says balance. I don't think any of us that love what we do have balance in the traditional sense of it, air quotes there.
I would agree, yeah.
The best way to find out about everything Capitol Stage?
The website, I think, is the absolute best way. There's tickets, there's calendars, there's all the information about classes, making a donation. Everything is there. So that's our main front door.
And that is Capitol Stage or capstage.org?
Capstage.org.
Okay, perfect. Well, Michael, you mentioned having a player or performance. The eliciting the response is really the essence of it. That's what changes the dynamic. That's what makes it that much more visceral to the audience, and the proximity and 4 rows and 127 people in the audience, period. That's enough to have a conversation with many of them in your section, as things go on.
And we host what we call cap chats after the shows, several of the shows, so people can talk about the show and ask questions of the actors and the director. I think there's this other thing that makes theater absolutely unique. There's never the same performance twice. Same actors, same production, but there's a different audience, and the audience changes the way that the theater performs, and the actors feel it. And there's always this wonderful time where something happens on stage that's affecting everybody, and the audience is not aware of their own reactions, and they'll go, oh, all together as a group. And I'm like, oh, we've done our job.
Yeah. And I'm sure for the performers as well, where they realize there's something different about this one. And maybe one performance out of those 27 or 29 is that one that was just pivotal. It was unique, where they really engaged and amongst themselves on stage and the audience.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen some of those too, where you recognize something's unique about this.
Yeah.
They're different on stage in just their either the comfortable, they're extremely comfortable, or some of the comments that may come out, maybe you know a little bit, and that's not how I heard it the last time.
Yeah.
Where that little bit, or you might see the smiles on the stage as they realize somebody changed something to address the audience differently.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what makes it unique. And you have this indelible, impermanent experience that can really be effective. It's just, we don't gather very much anymore. And so the theater is a wonderful place to do that and feel that shared humanity.
I love that line. It's a wonderful line. It's a great way to wrap, in terms of what a treasure we have with this incredible group of performers, with the incredible group of people committed to the theater to bring that somewhat edgier, somewhat more controversial discussion on topics, whether they be global or if they be national or if they be local.
Yeah.
We have an outlet for that.
Yeah.
So to you and your team, thank you so much for giving that to us.
Thank you for getting the word out. We really appreciate it.
As much as we can.
Okay.
Michael, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. We hope today's episode inspired you and gave you a deeper look into the work of our local nonprofits. If you believe in our mission to amplify their voices, please take a moment to leave us a positive review and share this episode with a friend. It helps more people discover the incredible work happening in our community. Don't miss future episodes. Subscribe to our weekly updates and monthly newsletter at nonprofpod.com. And if you're part of a nonprofit that would like to be featured, we'd love to hear from you. Just visit the guest tab on our website. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is recorded and produced at Hear Me Now Studio with generous support from our founding partners, CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations serving Sacramento, Roseville, and Folsom, and online at captrust.com. And Western Health Advantage, local care, community impact. Find the plan that fits at westernhealth.com. And to our newest partner, CORE, Interim and Fractional Executive Leadership, Comprehensive Back Office Support Services. We work in it so you can work on it. Visit cxore.com.